Two, one. I think we are live here, Jay. Hello and welcome back. I'm here with my good friend Jay from Maryland. It's gonna be a good video. If you are thinking about becoming a coffee YouTuber, I mean, Jay, you are brand new to the YouTube. What, a couple years, right?
Yeah. I started with my first YouTube video releasing it in December of 2019.
Okay, so you know what? How was it so far? I mean, do you like doing it, or what's going on for you?
Well, I enjoy it because I had been thinking about doing videos for a good 10 years before I
Okay,
started actually releasing videos, mainly because since I'm a working professional in the coffee industry, I
that's
wanted
right.
to show the journey. We shot some stuff back in 2008 and it had them edited, but then we just never really had a venue to release it. And then But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun. As we go different places, we get to make videos about coffee and people that we meet in coffee. So that's really exciting for me.
Because I know a lot of my friends, watching my videos, and sometimes they phone, how can I become a coffee YouTuber? Okay, I mean, for you, I mean, how do you become a coffee YouTuber?
Well, I think it's just like anything. You just got to start doing it, and
Okay, that's right.
you don't really need a lot of just need your phone, and that's pretty much it. It's super simple nowadays.
I know. I mean, you know what? I mean, it's just like you say, so much simpler than before, right? Because it used to be, you have to get a right equipment. You have to get a right program to edit it. But now everything is done in my iPhone. Okay. So
Oh
now,
yeah.
even we are doing the streaming, we don't even have to do editing either.
Oh
So,
yeah.
so by the way, people, you may not know, but I mean, Jay is how long you been in coffee industry?
I've been in coffee since 2002, so
Okay.
22 years.
And then also your background in coffee roasting.
That's right. We do green sourcing, coffee
Okay.
roasting, retail, consulting. So
And
we worked in the spectrum of coffee.
and also years doing the judging as well, correct? The World
That's
Barista.
correct. That's correct. That's correct.
So I mean, Jay is. I mean, it comes to coffee, he is. I think I consider you as the real pro. Okay,
Oh,
for sure.
that's very good.
And by the way, so I know you just got back from Coffee Expo as well.
That's
So
right. That's right.
so did you make a lot of B rolls on your YouTube videos?
Yeah. So what I tend to focus like if you, my channel is really more about coffee and coffee experiences rather
Okay.
than gear and
Yep.
the tech behind it. I
Yep.
just think that people like yourself and all these other people are so much more in depth with doing gear stuff. So I'm not really that interested in the gear
Okay.
as heavily as others. But what we did is basically walking around the show floor and that I thought were interesting. So
Okay.
different coffees, some of the people, some of the gear that I do find interesting. Um,
Okay.
but that's pretty much it. Then, but one of the things that I was working on is that there's something in our industry called the CVA, the Coffee Value Assessment Program.
Okay.
And it's the new way of evaluating coffee that the Specialty Coffee Association is trying to push. So it's somewhat controversial in the industry. So I was going around interviewing different people in from different sectors of our industry to see what their experience has been with the CVA as well as what their feelings are regarding to it. So that's going to eventually come out as a longer video talking, just focusing on how the industry is responding to and the level of acceptance that they're having towards it.
Okay, if you're looking at my screen here, I mean, this is
Okay.
Jay's YouTube channel there. Make sure to follow Ono Coffee. Okay, and then Jay, I mean,
Thanks.
yeah. So here's a video you just post.
Oh yeah,
What
that
the?
just came out a few minutes
Yep,
ago.
yep. 31 minutes ago, he just posted as well, and also you got from the post Expo copies too. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So every day we do a live stream at 10 a.m.
yep.
Eastern time.
And then also, you a couple years ago, actually, you made a video with this gentleman here as well.
Gase, yes, yes.
Yeah, I mean, man, he has goodness, he got them all, isn't it?
Yeah. He's got quite a setup. So Greg, if you're not too familiar, guys, he's the inventor behind something called the Scase device, which is
Yep.
a measuring tool. Oh, here. This is the original one. So, oops. So this thing plugs into your thermometer,
Yep.
and the new one has a pressure gauge on it. Right, the pressure
Oh
gauge is
wow.
here. This is the old one, and so he's the guy behind that, and he's got a wonderful setup at his house where he evaluates coffee machines and technology for different machine companies. I was just there a couple weeks ago doing a little bit of consulting with him
Hmm.
on some of the systems for a machine that one of the other Italian manufacturers are developing that may come out within the next year, I think. So interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. I can't
So I
really
mean,
talk about it, but interesting stuff at
sure.
least.
So I mean, do you see him that often, or?
Well, he lives closer to Washington D.C., so I don't.
Okay.
That's about an hour,
Okay.
20 minutes. So I don't really get to see him that often. We talk fairly regularly, but we don't really get to hang out too much.
If you're just joining us, I'm talking to Jay from Owner Coffee, talking about his journey to become a YouTuber himself as well. Because I mean, I know you are in the coffee industry for a long, long time, but but you know, I mean, I have you on before as well. Talk about the competition side of
Yes.
coffee, and then I thought that was pretty fascinating too, because I like, I like Brewers Cup, right?
Hmm.
I mean, judging all Barista Championship as well. I think last time you and I talked, so it's not the best coffee wins. Is the so whoever does the coffee best described
That's
coffee
correct. That's
gets the
correct.
highest points.
That's
Can you
correct.
tell me
So
more about that?
the,
I'm very
if you look at the rules and you look at the score sheets, what the competition itself is won solely by the amount of points. So whoever gets the most points wins the
Mhm.
championship. And to do rules as well as exploit the score sheets to get so a lot of the weighted part of the scoring is on the descriptions that you're giving to the judges about what they will be tasting.
Yep.
So if you can accurately describe to the judges what they're going to taste and they taste that, then they can give you higher scores. Like I just had this experience in Salt Lake City. I was there for the past several days before I came home after Chicago, where I went to a place called Cafe de. He made me an Americano, and it showed me the description for the espresso, and he wrote this description for it, and it was the most accurate flavor description that I've
Okay.
ever seen. Because
Okay.
what I was tasting was reflected on the paper that he gave me, and I was like,
Okay.
"Whoa, it's really impressive." So if you're a competitor that can do that, you can get higher scores and potentially win.
Oh, well, let me ask you, what kind of coffee was it? You was it washed coffee or some kind of natural coffee or anaerobic
That
coffee?
coffee that I was tasting at his place was that one I think was a washed coffee.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it is really hard to get the accurate tasting from washed coffee, I
Well, I
imagine.
mean, it's difficult to do it in any coffee, right? Like because you have to. It has to be one of those things where you are describing something in a way that the person tasting it will also accurately and readily identify it. So, for example, like in the competition sphere, if you're a competitor and you're saying you're going to taste lychee and I don't know, let's say lanzones, right,
Okay.
which are very Southeast Asian fruits,
Okay.
and you're dealing with Western judges, they may have no conception of what
That's
that
right.
tastes like,
Yep.
right? So these are some of the things that are difficult, and hopefully, you as a competitor, you can find a way to convey that experience to them in a way that they can readily identify. And a lot of people get caught up in this whole idea that we must have this very exotic coffee that's being hyped up by all these coffee people. But really, as from my perspective as a judge, if you can deliver a delicious, tasty, basic red Bourbon or Guatemala Typica and accurately describe that, you can do very, very well.
Okay, so it doesn't need to be it doesn't need to be best tasting cup, right? As long as the coffee is good enough, but you can describe well, you're gonna do well on the competition.
And dirtiness and diesel and all this kind of tar. And you bring that to the competition, you say, you're going to taste diesel, phenol, and tar. Yes, that's very accurate, but it is not of quality. So you would not do well in that situation.
Okay,
So it has to be of quality as well as accurately described.
but I bet your competition like that, the quality is already there, right? And
Hopefully. I mean, that's the idea is that by the time that you reach that level, you would have found and are using quality coffees.
so did you? So are you at the final on Sunday at Coffee Expo?
I was not. I was not there. I was yeah, at the trade show here in America. I'm always busy at the show,
That's right.
so I never like to participate in the competitions that are held in the United States because of that.
So by the way, are you retired from judging or are you
I
done?
am. I am. I no longer have to do that.
Okay. So how many years you been doing it?
2007 and
Wow.
so 2007 to 2023.
That's quite some time. That's quite a long time there.
Yeah, it was a bit of time. It was a good time. It's been a good time though.
But you know what? So this is my first time I've been to Expo. Man,
Hmm.
it's overwhelming
Hmm.
for sure, and a lot to see. But man, I mean, for next year, I need to be more focused. Okay, focus on
Oh,
where I need to go because I mean,
what do you want to focus on next year?
uh, I, I, I want to focus on one vendor at a time. Okay, I want to spend time there. I'm just gonna go over there, talk to the people, talk about the products, and make video,
Okay.
and then move on to the next one. And I like to have that list. Okay, before. All right. So before, I like to have that list. Start attacking that list instead of I was like walking around. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
lost. So
You're just like, what's going on here? Yeah.
exactly, and
Yeah.
then I saw you, at the coffee Newark, uh,
Oh,
the booth. Yeah, what do you think about the coffee Newark? So if you don't know what coffee Newark is, can you explain to us, Jay?
so the coffee luwak is basically that bucket list coffee that you probably heard about from
Yep,
the movies, where
yep,
the civet cat, the feral
exactly.
cat from Indonesia, is basically excreting the coffee that they've eaten from the coffee cherry. Now, the ones that I've had in the past were very like dry, earthy, flat tasting. But the one lady that we started with, the one that was wild luwak
Yeah.
with the red, she was wearing the red
Yes. Yep.
niqab.
Yep.
I thought that was pretty good. I was like, oh, and then did you try the one next to her where they did a luwak that is kind of like they're mimicking the luwak taste via processing.
Yes.
The woman with the mask, I think, was the one talking about it. I thought that was really good too. I was like, I mean, it's not luwak because it's artificial in the processing method, but I I think there's been an improvement in had in the past, and it's been maybe 10 years since I've actually had luwak until then.
Okay. By the way, so I did post that video on my YouTube channel.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, on my this lady with the red. So what happened was her theory. I mean, what she telling me was because this is a what rats or cat?
Well,
What
they're
kind of
like
animal is it?
cats. They're like cats.
Yeah, it's not like cats. But these cats go through this coffee fruits. They pick out the
Mhm.
best ones. Okay, the tasty ones, and they eat it, right? And then they poop it out. Correct.
That's correct. That's correct.
So which means that they're going to get the best coffee, And so, but like you say, there's coffee was quite. It wasn't that bad, but it wasn't amazing coffee, but it's very good coffee. I thought.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. I was like, wow. I don't know if we necessarily need to always have amazingly extraordinary coffee. We just need to have very good to good coffees, to enjoy in our daily lives. And
Yeah. So, did you enjoy the coffee from Expo?
well, here's the thing. I had the coffees that I did try. I overall enjoyed. Like I had this
Okay.
one from the Mount Elgin in Bugisu, Uganda, from Mountain Harvest. This
Yeah.
72-hour
Hmm.
fermented dizzy fruit coffee that was very good. I also had those luwaks, which were surprisingly
Yep.
good.
Yep.
I don't recall if I had it. Oh, I had that coffee with you at one time from that one roaster,
Dak.
Dak.
Dak. Yeah.
I think that was pretty good.
Yeah.
Um, I tried some. I did try some coffees at a coffee cupping from Nicaragua with Gold Mountain
Okay.
coffee importers. There
Yeah.
was one coffee there that I thought was really great, and then there was a coffee from Yunnan, China,
Yeah. Unit. Yep.
that one of them was a friend of mine's the importer. He was like, "Come taste my coffee," and I was like, "All
Yep.
right." Then there was one that was super good there. So yeah, there was some really nice stuff, but I don't drink as much coffee as you think at those shows.
I know. You know what? Because I was hoping for something amazing. Okay,
Mhm.
but I couldn't find one. Yeah, I could not find.
Even at the Roasters Village, you didn't find anything amazing?
No, not really. It's all good coffees, right?
Oh.
It's all good, but I was hoping for something amazing. I think I set the expectation too high. You know.
No, no, no. It's interesting to say that because when you say that, it makes me think, "Welcome to my world." Like there is so much all of these roasters and the coffees they're bringing,
Yeah.
and it's good, but it's not. Seems to be hyped. So I don't know. I don't know.
You know what? I wonder how many people out there really enjoys you know good coffee, right? Because sometimes we
Mhm.
don't know. Okay. If you're just getting into coffee, just like drinking wine, right? If someone drinking wine, $2 wine from Trader Joe's versus somebody drinking 1980 or whatever, very exotic wine. I wonder they are going to tell the difference.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't. I would like to think so, but here's one of the things that I was hanging out with some other friends in the industry, roasters, and I mean guys with more experience than I have. And one of the comments they brought out was like they said, the problem with our industry is that we're making all these guys are roasting coffee and making coffee for other roasters to impress other roasters, right? Like
Yes, yes.
meaning that like floral characteristics and all these like nuances and all this fruity like descriptions. But who are we really impressing? We're just trying to impress the other roasters so that they think, oh God, we're greater than them. And maybe not necessarily towards the consumer who's actually going to be drinking the coffee.
I don't think they're gonna like it. I don't think
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Like my friend he's an American guy living in Bangkok now. Like years ago, we were talking about coffee, and he was like, "Hey, I got to try that geisha." And I was like, "Ooh, what'd you think?" And he was like, "I hated it." I was like, "What?" I was like, "What are you talking about? It's like the greatest coffee on the planet." And he's like, "Dude, if I wanted to have a coffee that tasted like tea, I would
Exactly.
drink tea."
Yeah, yeah. Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm telling to all my viewers over the years. Okay, because
Yeah,
I like tea. I like tea like coffee. So which means I like geisha or I like very fruity coffee. But most of my friends, yeah, they want coffee. They're dark roast coffee.
right, right, right. I
So
mean,
when
you want something that's familiar and comfortable,
yeah,
and that tends to be that maybe not necessarily too dark, but at least a little bit more developed. Like a lot of the pretty coffees that we see, you know, they're pretty, and like in my line of work, I have to be able to understand and evaluate them and taste them and
Uh-huh.
appreciate them. But those pretty coffees aren't really the coffees that I will myself reach for when I just want to enjoy coffee with like maybe pancakes or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yes, you're right, right? The breakfast, bacon and eggs
Yeah.
and
I
some
want something
toast.
more,
Yeah.
give me some more development, some more caramelized, more Maillard reaction.
So, okay, when you're in Japan, I know you've been to Japan last year, right? Last year, year before.
That's correct. That's correct. Last summer.
But they're really dark, wasn't it?
You know, so there in Japan, there's like kind of two worlds of coffee. There
Okay.
is the old school, what they call kissa,
Okay.
the Showa era, these old
Okay.
school cafes. Those have always been traditionally much darker roasted coffees. Um, then there's the new school that kind of follows the specialty coffee trends. Places like Kitsune.
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
they're basically like going to any coffee shop anywhere else in the world, any
Okay.
specialty shop, right? I mean, they follow the same trends, they follow the same roast profiles, they follow the same
Mm,
coffees, they follow the same design styles. I mean, they follow the playbook, right? But in the world of Kisaten coffee, as
mm,
specialty has been increasing in prominence within our industry, I have started to see some of these old school Kisaten places like Cafe de l'Ambre,
mm.
even I think to a certain extent, Chate Hato. Some of these really old school places have rethought some of their approaches to some of their coffees. They've bought a little bit better, different
Yep.
quality coffee. They've lightened some of the roast profiles. So and I can see that in the cup as I'm drinking them over the years. And so it's interesting to see the impact of our end of the business on their side.
For their coffee, because I mean, if someone think about coffee, you want coffee taste, right? Which means like think of it as like coffee candy. We
Hmm.
are
Hmm.
used to very chocolatey. One of those. If someone think coffee is like coffee, you know what I mean? Is that coffee tastes like that in Japan? Very. Yep. Mhm. Okay.
Coffee
Okay.
attributes of the
Okay.
coffee, right? Whereas if I'm dealing with commercial grade coffees, we're looking for a number of acceptable defects, right? So there are going to in commercial coffees there are defects, and when you're creating a contract, you're looking to create a contract that specifies how many defects, how many of each defect is
Okay.
acceptable in the purchase. Whereas in this world of specialty, no defects are really
Huh.
appropriate. So a lot of the old school guys are buying more commercial coffees where there are some kind of
Okay.
defects in them. So there's always going to be that, but and they're roasting it a little bit darker to help mask those defects. So that's part of where a lot of the darker roasted stuff comes from because you're trying to make difficult coffee a
Yeah.
little bit more palatable. But now that some people are moving more towards cleaner coffees or specialty coffees, then the roast profiles can become a little bit lighter while still maintaining very familiar flavor profiles, but they can go lighter because they don't have to mask a lot of the defects that are out there, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So if someone, I mean, most people watching my channel, I mean, I know a lot of you like dark, dark roast coffee. Which one you like in U.S. dark roast coffee? And if this coffee remind you of coffee, very comforting, really good, clean dark roast coffee.
You mean me?
Yeah, for you in this country, which roaster or maybe are you roasting like that on your roastery?
Well, I mean, I roast here. This is our house blend right now.
Okay,
This is our house blend. Roasted probably about 2 weeks ago.
okay,
What do I have for it here? This is more of a city, so
okay,
it's not really. This is not really dark. That's not dark. Look at that. That's
okay.
not dark. Um, this is our average roasted.
Mm-hmm. Yep, yep, gotcha, gotcha. Hey, I think we are a little lagging for your end. Hold on a second. Is it lagging your end or my end?
I haven't noticed any lagging
Okay.
on my feed. I mean, it could we could be. I mean,
Okay,
oh, there is
Linda,
some lagging.
do you see lagging from my end or Jay's end? Let me know on the live chat as well. Yeah, he's
Oh, David Mariska says it's really bad now.
okay. He's getting better.
Are we out of sync with each other? Unison.
Okay, so Terry say your side. So
Well,
are you using the
who is the
Wi-Fi or
your?
are you using the cellular?
I am.
Okay, hold on. So if you're joining us right now, we are talking to Jay. Okay, so Jay is little freeze at the moment. Jay, if
All
you
right.
can, there we go. Can you hear me, Jay?
I can hear you. I haven't lost your signal from. I was just switching the
Okay.
phone over
Yep.
to the. Is it working now?
Okay, you're freeze, but I can hear you. You're
How
freeze.
about that?
Now
Better?
it's working.
Okay. Yeah, I just had to. Since you mentioned, I had to activate the phone to connect to the. I have a separate network just for the streaming here, so
Man,
hopefully that's better.
I can because I got my monitor set up right here, as
Oh,
you can
oh,
see.
oh, oh! I'm too big there.
Okay, we got the monitor set up, so and so we got the big, so I can see all the comments as well.
Oh,
Okay.
nice, nice. There's a lot. Oh, there's a lot of comments.
Yeah. By the way, the camera add about at least 20 pounds. Okay.
That's good that I lost. Good thing that I lost 20 pounds then
Yeah,
recently. So
it's by add about 20 to 30 pounds of weight. So yeah. I mean, by the
that's
way,
all right. I'm used to
Jay
it.
looks Jay looks so much better in real life than
Oh,
okay.
I thank you.
Just
That's very kind.
let you guys know. Yes. Okay. Good. I think we are much better. By the
Okay,
way, if
good.
you're joining us, we are talking to Jay from. So, what is your coffee roaster? Ono Coffee Roastery.
No, no. The roastery is actually called Spro Coffee.
That's right,
SPRO
Spro. Yeah,
Coffee.
yeah,
Mhm.
Spro Coffee.
Yeah. I actually have a separate channel for the
Yeah.
company, but I haven't uploaded anything in like almost a year.
Okay. Again, if you're joining us, well, I'm talking to Jay about becoming a YouTuber for last couple years. Uh, but again, so modern day YouTuber, especially now, is really hard to make money doing it. Okay,
Okay. Okay.
I mean that's the facts. I know if you are someone out there wants to become YouTuber, make a lot of money, that's not the case. Okay, that's not the case. So I know being a YouTube is a hobby for you, but I mean, but you do spend a lot of time on it, though. How much time are you willing to spend to build up your channel, Jay?
Well, I mean, so on a weekly, let's say on an average week, I'll probably spend maybe 20 hours on the
Okay,
channel.
yeah, 20 hours a week.
Probably, maybe more. It all depends. Like, I've always run my own business for the last, like,
Yep,
since 1999. So for me, people talk about work home balance. I don't really have that. I don't have
yep.
any of that. It's always like, for me, it's always extreme. It's always like we're focused here or we're focused here or focused here, and we give our attention. And then whenever, like, it's one of those things where, like, okay, if I get tired of it, we just stop. And if we don't release a video, well, then that's just the way it is. So I don't really get, and I've been doing this with the business for a long time. So it's always everything. I find that business is very all encompassing. Like there's never escape from it, right? Like when you work as an employee, you can typically can go home and enjoy your life
Sure.
without thinking too much about your regular job. In my world, it's always there. So I've kind of learned to how to make it all work together.
Again, I mean, if you are thinking about being a YouTuber, I mean, this is full time. It's not full time job, but it's full time, beyond full time. I mean, I
Oh
think
yeah,
about my YouTube channel 24/7. Okay, at home, I'm thinking about okay, how can I make what kind of video? I'm not talking about making better video. I'm going to talk about what kind of video I'm going to make tomorrow.
mm,
Okay, and then because I don't make a lot of edited videos much. I go all live streaming. And then I saw you with your live streaming daily. Let's see. Well, you go live what 10 p.m. 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, correct?
that's correct. That's correct.
Okay, so
Monday through
Jay's.
Friday, we try to do
Yep.
10 a.m.
One. So if you're joining us, make sure to check out Jay's live streaming Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So 7 p.m. 7 a.m. here in Pacific Standard
Yes.
Time. So you're doing daily set time. I mean that's pretty impressive.
Oh, thanks. I started doing that. Actually, I started doing the live streams because of you,
Okay.
right? Because I was thinking, how can I serve a community better with, because most of my videos are really more about experiences in coffee and less about uh, everything else. And so I was thinking about how you do it, and I was like, oh, you know what? Who live streams pretty much daily, multiple times a day. I'm not willing to do multiple times a day because that's like that would be, to me, that'd be very chaotic. But I was like, if I just chose a time that would be convenient for me to do this, then I could do a daily live stream where I could interact with the audience, with the community, and share stories and talk about things. And I found that to be very, very enjoyable. So we do pretty much every day, Monday through Friday, 10 p.m., 10 a.m. Um, but it's also one of those things where, like, since I do have other stuff to do, it's also one of those things where everyone is very, very flexible in that if we
Yeah.
need to take a break for like a day or two or three, we do. And like when I had to shut down our roastery and move, basically we took a 3-month hiatus from the daily live stream. And then when we started up again, it was, everybody was still there. So it's really a nice way to do it. And plus, it's one of those things where I think of like when we're talking about making videos, the videos that I release mostly on the channel, especially where with the coffee experiences, are really about the coffee world as I see it. These are the videos that I would like to watch
Yeah.
myself, right? Like I would like to see what it's like to go out in the world and experience coffee in different places. But I don't really see much of that. So I was like, well, I guess I should make that. And so that's what I've been making. But those are videos that I make because I enjoy them. The live streams are videos that I'm doing because I want to at least offer something to the audience, to the community, as a way to, maybe like as kind of like a helpline or feedback
Sure.
to for people to talk about coffee, and if they have issues, maybe I can help solve them in some way.
I mean that's how I treat it as my live streaming because I don't usually respond back all the comments people leave me on the post. I don't respond to those. I don't read my
Okay.
comments. Period.
Oh, you
Okay.
don't? Okay.
No, I don't. I mean, and sometimes why, right? But I do interact with my viewers through a live chat right now. Okay. I mean, we do a live chat. So, I mean, this is what I like to do. I mean, like
Oh,
someone
right,
asked
right.
about the Barista Express, having issues with or pro. People ask me. So I just, give them answers right away instead of back and forth on the live. Some people does amazing job commenting. Okay. And I don't. I mean, that's full-time job. I know a few of my YouTube friends out there. They're on the YouTube, Instagram, Reddit, several Discords as well. Just out of control. Okay,
Yeah, yeah. They're impressive in that respect. Very impressive.
very impressive, but I can't. Okay, I mean that's too much for me. I like this. I like talking to coffee people like yourself. Talk about coffee. What you think about coffee, especially modern days, right? And I don't know. Sometimes I just want just a good coffee, good black coffee. Hard to find. Okay, I just want a good black coffee. Tastes like coffee that very comforting, inviting. Wow, this is really good.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
what I
yeah.
want.
That
I
is
mean, that's
nice.
what. When's the last time you had that coffee like that?
Oh, well, I mean, if I'm making coffee here, that's
Hmm.
not some of the coffees that I've given. It's pretty much regularly because I mean, but I have the luxury of controlling my own flow
Yeah,
of coffee, so I can roast and blend pretty much anything that I want. Um,
yeah,
so I don't know if I'm necessarily a fair example of
yeah,
that kind of thing. But I think that if you in most places, if you go, you can go to a lot of roasters and find a lot of that kind of coffee. Like I
sure.
would, if I was buying coffee today from someone else other than myself, I would probably
Yeah,
look to maybe some of the older school roasters.
yeah.
For espresso, maybe check out Espresso Vivace. David Schomer is like
Yes,
the
yep. I tried
godfather.
that. Press Vivacha.
Yeah, I mean, he's classic old school. Zoka in Seattle, very classic. Lighthouse in Seattle, again, very classic. These are the roasters that are going to be. And Cafe D'Arte has the fire, the wood burning roaster, so it's got this kind of smoky
Wow.
element to it. Now, these are all old school, like second wave, moving into third wave roasters that historically have had very chocolatey, fuller bodied,
Yeah.
kind of the coffee that I was talking about earlier. That's chocolatey, nutty, fruity, good body, like just developed sweet coffee. I would look to those to buy coffee from to try. Of course, the coffee that I sell at sprocoffee.com is very much like that as well.
Okay.
Um, because I'm an adherent. That's the generation of third wave that I came from at the very
That's right.
beginning. So my mentor in the business, who owns a place called Heinz Public Market Coffee in Vancouver, Canada, again, he's that style of that chocolatey, older school, early third wave style of roasting.
By
You
the way,
know,
so whenever I watch like the coffee video from YouTube, a YouTube video from like Japan or Korea, they make a V60 recipe with so much coffee on the top.
oh yeah, 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 yeah,
I
yeah.
don't get that. I mean, can you explain to me what they are doing?
I mean, I'm not sure because like the place that comes to mind that does that especially is a place called Chate Hato, which
Okay.
is an old school kisaten that is in the Shibuya district of
Okay.
Tokyo. So if you're familiar with like the Hachiko statue and the scramble that everybody you see on TV all the time,
Yeah.
the so that's on the one side of the JR station. If you go to the other side of the JR station, Chate Hato is over there.
Okay.
And this guy, he gets his like you said, he has a V60 type of brewer, maybe it's a Kalita or whatever, and he's got it full.
I know.
And he'll sit there, and this is his ultimate brewing style. Like he doesn't do this for everything, but if you order this, he will brew it, and it will take 15 minutes to brew this coffee. I don't know. I haven't been able to ask him what the ratio of coffee to water he's using, but I
Yeah,
mean
I
it's a
know.
massive amount. It's very, very different than what we're used to, but it looks very good.
because because I saw that on the video and I was like dumbfounded. Okay, and
Mhm.
then, one of my social media friend Nadia. So Nadia does Instagram coffee, coffee social media person. So whenever she make the pour over, just like you say, just amount of coffee, it's gotta be, I don't know, 50, 60, maybe 100 grams. Who knows how many
Oh,
grams?
yeah, it's crazy.
I mean,
Oh,
I'd love to find out about the recipe.
I'll have to ask. There's this guy, Jin Yu. Jin Yu is a guy that I met last year. He did not come to the show this year, but he's the guy behind this coffee, Immunica. Are you familiar with this?
No.
This is a Korean
Okay.
mushroom functional specialty coffee.
Mushroom.
Yeah, it's not mushroom like my understanding is that it's not mushroom that is ground and added to it. It's a
Okay.
mushroom that's included with the fermentation. I don't know.
Okay.
It's fermentation, but he's got this brewing style where they have this brewer that looks like this, right? Like this, and you fill it with like this whole bag, and you brew with it, and it takes like an hour to brew. It's very, very. I have to ask him about it. I'll message him about it. He's in Busan right now
Okay. Yep.
for the World Championships that
That's
are
right.
being held. So he probably won't be available for another week or so. But I'll ask him about that to find out.
Because I definitely want to know the recipe for that. That style of coffee. I'm very curious about myself as well.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
man, but I think that lately a lot of coffees are like naturally processed or fermentation, interesting fermentation as well. I mean, goodness, is I feel like is I mean, if you're into coffee, this is a great time to be. Okay,
Oh yes, yes. It's very interesting times.
I mean, you can go old school versus we got new school, right? So,
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
so are
Absolutely.
you enjoying the ride so far?
Oh
There's
yeah,
changes in coffee industry.
yeah. I mean, overall, it's a lot of fun. The industry's full of people that are genuine and easy to get along with. There's very few um, imposters and very few people that are disagreeable, to put it mildly. But overall, it's really great. Like for me, like going to the show is always fun because some people you only get to see at the show, and you may not see them for a couple shows,
Sure.
but you always get together and hang out and have a good time and have good conversations. Like one of my friends, Stephen Lee, he's a roaster consultant and
Mhm.
worked for many different companies, and we finally got to hang out a bit at the show. I haven't seen him in like 3 years or 4 years, so always really great time. Plus, you talk to people and they're sharing what their stories are and like what they've learned, and you're like, and for me, it's always a knowledge base. It's like, wow, there's just so much. There's so much that I don't know that I haven't learned that hopefully I can remember from what they're telling me and sharing with me. That hopefully I can apply it to my own world.
I mean, you're right because you got so much out there, right? We got the obviously we got the coffee side. Okay, we have the processing side, your producing side, and also we have the roasters as well. I mean, goodness, there's so many different layers.
Oh yes,
So-
many, many.
Oh, by the way, I mean, Jay, are you Q grader?
I am not.
Okay, because I was talking to somebody about Q grader, right? So producer work with the Q grader, come up with points and scoring, points and all different tasting notes. And then we have a buyer from other party. Obviously, their end have their own Q graders.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's not going to be match, right? Match the scores or different tasting notes. I mean, how remedy that?
Well, so in the world of Q grading and the general world of coffee grading and scoring, like for example, let's say we with the Q grading world, when you go to a Q event, that they're
Yep.
actually grading, they'll have what they call a calibration session,
Yep.
where they will get the Q graders together and they will sit down and cup coffees, discuss them, and they'll share their scores. And let's say someone says, "Oh, this coffee is 87, this coffee is 83." They're the same coffees, but two
Yep.
different graders. They will then talk to each other with the group and say, "Okay, this it should be, let's say 8, this should be 9, this aspect should be 8 and 5, 8.75 or whatever," to bring everybody tighter in unison, right? And that's what happens before a Q event, so that the graders will be more closely aligned with each other. Now, if you have a situation where you're coming into a place and two different cuppers are cupping and they're like 83 and 87, well, that's a pretty big disparity, and one that in my professional world, I haven't really experienced. So typically, when we go to Origin, I'll be traveling with either myself, or let's say we'll travel with a number of other cuppers from different companies, and we're all buying coffees together. We're tasting coffees together. I have not found to have that large of a disparity. So let's say, like, if we have this coffee,
Yep.
this is a coffee from Capucas in Western Honduras by
Okay.
one of my friends. Actually, she made this.
Mm.
If I'm tasting this and I'm like, or I guess I'm not doing that, I'm actually doing this, right? We're,
Yep.
we're taking our,
Right.
let's say that's 84.
Okay.
And in a critical cupping, you're not talking to each other. You're not like, I'm not tasting it like, oh, it tastes like blueberries. No, you keep that to yourself. And then you discuss later. So typically we'll be talking and be like, well, and I have found that most people that have experience in the field tend to be fairly close. Like, what if I thought this is 84, maybe my friend might 83, maybe 85. 2-point difference, maybe, but three or more, to me, that's an unusual situation.
Okay.
And so I think part of what you're also talking about, that I've heard a lot of people discussing, is that producers will wonder, okay, so let's say I say 85, and
Okay.
let's say my two friends are like, oh yeah, 85, 85, definitely 85. But I buy it and
Yep.
they don't. The producer wants to know, well, why are you not buying it if you think it's a quality coffee?
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is that, and this is part of what the whole coffee value assessment thing that the SCA is trying to push on the industry, is supposed to address these 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 subjective evaluations of coffee.
That's
So
right.
let's say this coffee, for example, it's juicy. It's got a lot of like fruitiness, like we were talking like cranberries, sour cherries. Um, and I'm talking about this because I actually talked about this same coffee on my last live stream. Um, and let's say those are the major points of that coffee. And it's a great quality coffee. But what I'm looking for my coffee program is a coffee that has heavy chocolate notes
Okay.
and a lot of body. Not much fruit, because I have other naturals in inventory that will fill that position for the blend that I need to use. I may not buy this coffee because it doesn't fit what I need. And that's where I think some of the disconnect comes with producers and buyers, is that the producers don't understand, may not clearly understand that maybe the reason that person didn't buy the coffee is because it doesn't necessarily fit what they need to fill in their coffee program. Because the buyer is going to have different criteria for what they're purchasing. Some coffees they're buying to create into blends.
Yep.
Some they're looking for very unique profiles for single origin coffees. So it really depends. And then, like, they may also be buying coffees because one of their clients they have a contract with a client that they have to fulfill, and that contract states that their coffee must taste a certain way. So um, that's a lot of what exists. And the queue is nice, right? Don't get me wrong. I think I never bothered getting the queue, mainly because it doesn't help me. And what I mean by that is that I work in a world where I own the company, right?
That's right.
I
Yep.
make the final decision.
Yep.
A lot of times you'll want to get Q because your company specifies that, or you need to. It will help you with upward mobility within your position, right? In my particular instance, I have no more I have no more upward mobility, right? Like there is nothing. It's not helping me get higher. The only thing it helps is that maybe it gives you some license, some certification.
Yep.
And in Asia, very popular. Like it's very strong in Asia because a lot of Asian coffee people either want to have certification as Q or they need certification as Q. So I believe the highest concentration of Q graders is in Asia, Eastern Asia especially.
You know what? I mean, I can see that, right? It's all about credibility. Okay, over there for sure. So, are you buying coffee from direct from farmers, or are you go through like distributor?
Both, both.
Okay.
Yeah. So some we buy direct. That's kind of slowed down since the pandemic, since we
Yep.
closed our main retail location. So we haven't had as much demand for coffee. But now that we're moving back towards getting into retail, we're going to start buying again
Okay.
from
So,
a lot
so,
more.
so who's the big player in the distributing coffee throughout the world?
You mean as far as a company?
Yeah, company.
I would say companies like Olam, Vol Cafe,
Okay.
those are some major, major players out
Okay.
there. They've got, they're multinational conglomerates. They've got incredible amounts of financing. They've got representatives and offices in all of the producing countries or majority of the producing countries. So, um, yeah, those are some of the bigger players, I think.
Like like Sweet Maria, they're considered as a small
Oh
distributor.
yeah, 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 yeah. Tom is very small in comparison. I mean, but where Tom excels is that he's kind of a psycho, meaning that he's like hyper focused on like coffee quality, which
Okay.
is his greatest strength. Like you can buy stuff from Sweet Maria's that is exquisite, like just beautifully sourced, beautiful. This coffee here, this coffee I'm doing tomorrow on tomorrow's live stream that I got from Cafe de Bola, my friend John. This is the Ethiopia Ducamo Rumudamo. This
Okay.
is a number one COE Cup of Excellence coffee in 2020. It
Wow.
is this particular batch was rated by Tom as a 93.5.
Wow.
So it's supposed. I mean, Sweet Maria is just, or by if you're in the professional side of things, there's a side of Sweet Maria is called Coffee Shrub, which is their kind of wholesale
Yeah.
side. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. And the nice thing about Sweet Maria is, especially for the home user,
I know.
you
That's
can
true.
buy the coffee by the pound.
How
Beautiful.
exactly? Yep. By the way, Eduardo asked you, do you believe Q or SCS certification for personal help move the company?
To
Okay.
help move your company, I guess. I mean, like if you, so, here's the thing. So, like certifications are a good thing in general,
Yep.
right? Because if you don't have access to experience, it is a pathway to gaining some experience, right? Like if you go to a Q class or if you go to one of those SCA classes,
Yep.
you'll have an instructor that has been trained, that has experience in the field, and they will teach you a lot of things that you should know as a coffee professional to accurately taste and assess coffees. Or you could be in the industry, work with people, and learn it, with experience in the field. Um, one doesn't Field experience is better, always better, right? It's just kind of like when I went to film school. I went to film school at NYU, best film school in the country. Well, unless you go to USC, those guys will say
Right.
that they're better, but whatever. Um, it's great to get that experience, to get that name recognition, to get whatever that is. But once you get in the field, it means nothing because
Yep.
you have to prove yourself, right? So, but if you don't have access, that's a great way to get access. I think that in that case, it's really good. Um, if you do decide to take the Q, chances, especially if you're fresh to the industry,
Yep.
you probably should not expect to pass the first time. You'll probably have to take it
Sure.
maybe up to 2 more times in order to pass, and a lot of and that's true for a lot of coffee professionals, right? A lot of coffee professionals will not actually pass the Q on their first attempt, and typically the pricing of the Q will include a couple retakes.
I mean, they're pretty pricey. It tastes like $2,500.
Yeah, yeah, it's a lot of money.
It's
It's
a
a
lot
lot
of
of
money.
money. It's a lot of money.
But flip side, the $2,500 for Q grading, getting a certification, it's not that bad either, right? Because
No, no, no.
college education nowadays are cost fortune anyway.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I was about to say something like, a little bit more cavalier, like, you could take that 2,500 bucks, go to Sweet Maria's, buy a bunch of coffees, buy yourself a roaster, roast your own coffees, but again, it goes back to that, if you don't have some kinda guidance, then you're just really just
yep,
kinda shooting in the dark. Um, but yeah, if you're totally, totally devoid of connections,
yep.
then it may behoove you to use those certifications to gain connections and experience.
Because I know a lot of people. Some of my coffee friends wants to getting into coffee industry.
Mhm.
Okay, but gosh, it is hard to break in, isn't it?
Well, I mean, I guess it would depend where you are. You just you just kind of got to go out and try to beg and plead. Like I equate it to kind of when I started in the because I don't know if I told you this before, but I was in the motion picture business for 15 years, right?
Okay.
I made movies with on the production crews for
Yeah.
Hollywood films. When I was trying to break in the business, like I mean, it was really you just begged and pleaded and asked and talked to people. If you really want to get in, you've really just got to go out and hit the pavement and introduce yourself and offer to volunteer and try to work your way in. Like when I first got into coffee, I was in Baltimore in 2002, and Baltimore 2002, as far as specialty coffee, was void. It was a desert. I had to spend the time and the money to go to different places, Seattle, to go to the trade shows, to go to the different competitions and volunteer my time to just meet people and get
Yep.
into the scene. And then but like anything, you get into the scene, you talk to people, you meet people, and then you have to perform and be like, hey, I'm volunteering my time and I'm gonna step up and like serve.
Yep.
And then people gain respect for you and then they'll invite you along to other things and be like, hey, come on and join us with this. And it's like, all right, I'm on the way.
I think. By the hold on a second. Someone asked about the. Do you empty your kettle water every time? It depends on the water you have. If your water is hard water, I like to empty. But if you have soft water, I just leave it on. What about you?
Well, I use a specialized water here.
Yep.
So, like for example, this kettle that I used earlier, I did empty it back, but I only emptied it back into the actual boiling
Yep.
kettle. So I'll leave that here,
Sure.
but then I'll like refill my water supply from
Yep.
the bucket and then pour that in the next day. But for the most part, for the pouring kettle, I will take it out.
Okay. So do you make your own coffee water, Jay? Yeah.
No, 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 no. That's just to me. That's just craziness. That's just too
Okay.
much work. Like, luckily, I'm in Baltimore, right? Baltimore's water supply, as far as coffee is concerned, is very, very good. Like, we test our water fairly regularly, at least once a year, and we test it at our site so that we know that
Okay.
whatever pipe it's coming through is. And there I can't remember exactly, but there's one parameter according to the Specialty Coffee
Yeah.
Association that is out by like 0.0005 ppm.
Okay.
Everything else is within the ideal specifications. So
Wow.
we basically charcoal filter the water, and that's it. So very lucky in that respect.
Okay. So what do you think about lately? We got different. If you talk to coffee people, like third wave water, perfect water, or making your own water, right? So I've been making my own water as well. I added like calcium or bicarbonate, magnesium. What do you think about that trend?
Well, I mean, I don't know what I mean. I think some of it's kind of I think some of it's kind of crazy. But that said, what I while over the last 20 years, we've always been in this rush within the industry to go to a single standard of water. Like the water has to be this way. But I know this is probably kind of fraught with all kinds of issues, and I've never really tested it. I've just kind of romanticized the idea behind it. But when we talk about like places like New York and their bread, people are like it's the water, right? That's why the bagels are better. It's like okay,
That yeah, that's what
that's
people
fine,
say, right? It's the water.
right? So I've kind of wondered, like, what if you were just to like express your coffee with the water you have? People say it's terrible, but I don't know. But what I do think is interesting is so when I was at the show, like I know you guys have all been talking about this meticulous
Yep.
coffee brewer for like the last year since it got
Yep.
announced. I didn't really know about it. I didn't really pay attention to it. It was actually Nick, what was it Nick Brown? Nick from Beverly Hills?
Oh yeah, Nick. Oh yes.
Nick Burnett. Oh darn
Yeah,
it.
yeah, I
That's,
know. Yeah.
so he comes up to me at the show. He's like, "Hey, I watched your show." I was like, "Well, thank you very much." He said, "I think you're wrong."
Ah,
And I was like, "All right, that's what I like to hear."
okay.
And he's like, "Have you seen this meticulous? I want you to come meet this guy, Carlos." So he
Yep.
introduced me to Carlos. And I think the interesting thing to my mind is like, oh, this meticulous, I can now make espresso.
Yep.
And I realize you could do this with the Flair 58, but you can
Yes.
make espresso and change the water. And
Yes.
now,
Yep.
and you can, and so I am curious to explore that now. Like if we did, because I've had samples of water sent to me from like my friends at LA, Seattle, but if we could mimic that or have them send water and then brew the coffee with water from those sources, can we craft or formulate a water? Can we craft an experience for the guest? Right? Like what I'm thinking about for the new shop is kind of a sit down model where you can come in and experience coffee in a whole different way, right? Like like one of the ideas that we're tossing around is like, let's say you come into the shop and we have an appointment and here's our coffee, right? This is our coffee. You get to see it in the green. And then we take you on the journey of roasting the coffee, right? Like I've got a Quest M3 that we can use to roast the coffee. Although I was looking at the Cafe Logic 7
Yep.
and roast the coffee and then we brew it for you. So you get to see the journey of the coffee from green to your cup. Something like that. Something that's just a that's just a rough thinking at the moment.
You know what? Last time I talked to you, okay, and you had this best espresso. You said
Oh yeah,
Thailand.
yeah.
Okay, in Thailand.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because freshly roast coffee, as you know, fresh roast coffee is pretty terrible.
I have been challenged on that recently.
I know exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, like so there's a live stream that we did a week long a week long series of live streams that we did probably in October. And we took a coffee. I took a coffee, a green coffee, roasted it on the first day on Monday's episode. We roasted it and then brewed it right away, straight out of the roaster, cooled it down,
Yeah.
brewed it. Nice flavor, really interesting, expressive. The next morning, 24 hours later, brewed the same coffee. Gosh, it was terrible. It was really
Okay.
different. And the thing that was the most challenging for me is that our standard acceptable practice within the industry is to do our quality control of roasted coffee the next day. Most every roaster that I know will roast coffee, let's say on Monday morning. Tuesday morning, they will cup that coffee and
Yeah.
see. And like I guess if you know your coffee and you know what and you get used to the style, you can work it up. But for me to try to do this live stream series where the coffee was so occluded by the next morning really was just like, how could we have missed this? How, are we actually doing ourselves a disservice by QCing our coffee the
Ah,
next
I see.
day? And so really, it's really been a big like, holy smokes, like I've totally like you know, mind effed on this. And but this guy, so I think there's a window about 4 hours before CO2 occlusion really starts to take effect. Actually, Stephen Lee was the one that told me this 4 hour window. I
Yeah.
haven't tested that yet, um, but this guy, Don Chan at One Coffee Roasters. Don is the multi-time Hong Kong barista champion who opened a shop in Bangkok because his girlfriend is from Bangkok. He made me this coffee, roasted it on Ikawa,
Okay.
brewed it in this Flair 58, and I it was the best espresso I've had in 23 years of being in coffee. And I was so like, you made it in the Flair 58. What kind of insanity is this? So
That,
I think that there's something to be explored with freshly roasted brewed coffee.
you mean same day, right?
Yeah,
Just right
like
away. Immediately.
immediately roasted and brewed.
Have you tried that?
Immediately roasted and brewed?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean that in that live stream we did it live.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
yeah. So
did you say that it was pretty good, huh?
yeah, it was great. But the next day, terrible.
Well,
And it wasn't good for another week.
I gotta try that. Yeah, because I got my small roaster here at the shop, so definitely I need to try that method. I tried it last time. Actually, I did. It's terrible.
Mhm.
But again, the
Oh,
the roasting skills matters. Okay, beginner roaster versus like expert like you. I mean, I bet you it matters too. So yeah, I think
well, I
that's
mean, I can't say that that won't have an impact, but for the most part, what are we doing with roasting? You're trying to, make the coffee brown
yep.
in a certain amount of time. Like you don't want it to go too fast, you don't want it to go too slow, but for the most part, you should be able to get fairly decent results.
That's true. Yeah, that's that's really true. Hey, so anyway, so are you? So obviously you are planning on going to Expo every year, correct?
Yes, I try not to
Okay.
miss Expo.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely a fun time. I really enjoyed it. I mean, I definitely really enjoyed it, and so much to look at, so much. But again, if people are just joining us right now, I'm talking to Jay from Spro Coffee in Maryland. Just make sure I'm gonna put the Jay's link on my video section. Jay does,
Well, thanks.
uh, and then Jay started a YouTube channel pretty heavily last couple years. But again, if you're thinking about YouTube channel, coffee YouTuber, you know what? Think of it as a hobby, okay? Not think of it as career because there's no money to be made unless
Well, unless you're James Hoffman.
unless exactly unless your name is James Hoffman.
I think
That's
James
about
must
it.
be making money. He's got over 1 million subscribers, right?
I think that's the only way to make money. I think again the coffee industry is so small. I mean, it's not like technology, right? Technology, we're gonna have a lot of gadgets. We can
Yeah,
really.
the tech AdSense pays. I hear it a lot, but they say pays really a lot is finance in the financial sector. If you're doing like financial videos, they say those ad rates pay quite a lot,
The
like in the
fun, yeah,
40 to $50 CPM.
that's pretty good. Okay, that's
Mm.
pretty good as well. I mean, goodness, my CPM isn't, yeah, is a teens, not even. So it's terrible. Okay, so I mean, if you're thinking about as a full-time YouTuber, think again. It's not. You're not gonna make a lot of money doing it unless, like Jay say, your name is James Hoffman. I think that's about it. I know Lance does well, but I know Lance has full-time job too. It's not like he does that full-time.
Yeah, Morgan,
So
I think does pretty well though, right?
Yeah, Morgan is I mean, she from TikTok, so she brought our
Oh,
TikTok fans to YouTube community, so
oh,
she
okay.
added to it.
Because they had
But
that YouTube video that came out like last year where they said that Morgan made like 150,000 a year. Did you see that video?
no,
Yeah,
it's
there's.
from
I didn't watch it, but I just saw the thumbnail one day. It said Morgan. It's in the thumbnail. It's like Morgan makes 141,000 a year, and I was like, whoa, that's pretty good money.
I mean, so that's from CNBC, wasn't it? CNBC.
I don't recall
Yeah.
who made. I never watched it, so I don't recall who made it.
Plus, I mean, she's a Barista champion too, so I mean that definitely helps.
Yeah. Well, I think this is all. I think. I mean, this is only just after she won the Barista Championship, so she wasn't really. I don't think. No. No, also, one thing: people don't really make money from being a Barista champion.
No,
It's once you win, the SCA or the World Championship really don't do anything for you.
but you're gonna have that title.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely,
I mean,
absolutely.
I mean that's a big deal. I
Yeah,
mean,
you have to turn it into something. The
exactly.
the
You have to
organizations don't do anything for you.
exactly. But again, I mean that is a Barista. I mean James Hoffmann was world Barista champion as well.
That's right. In 2007.
Yeah, 2007. But man, God, I mean, I saw his competition versus nowadays. What a difference!
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Very big difference now.
Day and night.
Day and night. Day and night. Yeah,
I mean,
James couldn't win today.
no, I don't think so. No, I mean, goodness. I mean, that's like, yeah. I mean, how, right? I mean, how can you? I mean, you saw his presentation. Have you seen his presentation?
No, the one in Tokyo.
No, I mean for the I'm talking about the James. I mean, like you say, James Hoffman's. Can he win today? I mean, most likely not, right? Because
Well, I mean, I said that's really more I mean, if we go back to what I was saying earlier, it's really about accurately describing the experience. Yeah, he could probably win.
you think.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, anyone that can exploit that can win, right? Especially, and the difficult part that's difficult to reconcile, I think, and this is part of what the WCE was upset with me, the
Mhm.
organization that runs all this,
Yeah.
because I said this in a public forum before, where there is a disparity between the haves and the have-nots, right? Like the people that win, and because I travel the world, sanctioning these events, I see this on a worldwide scale. It's like the people that tend to win the championships tend to be the best capitalized and the best resourced competitors. The people that are competing, that are workaday baristas, trying to with dreams of winning, they tend not to be the winners in most countries, especially the more developed countries.
I- because I mean, it is expensive. You
It's
know.
expensive. These guys are buying expensive coffees, and like one of the things that we had I had an argument with Lance about this, and he was like, because I said, someone like Morgan and someone like
Yeah.
Andrea have an advantage because they have great resources available to them, and he was like, well, we don't really have that much resource because we have a side room with an old um, Black Eagle from the Nova Similarly Black Eagle 3 group that has one group broken, and I was like, I didn't really respond to that because I was like, dude, you just kind of like made my point is that you have a room dedicated to work in. You have the actual competition machine, even
Yeah.
though it's got a broken group head, you still have 2 group heads working. You can work on the machine and you have time to train. Whereas a lot of like these workaday baristas, they don't have that resource available to them. They don't have the machines available to them. They have to wait until after their shop has closed to practice if they can practice. And they don't have access to, or they don't have the ability to afford all of the coaches that a lot of these guys are going to bring in. Like if you get someone like Federico Bolaños or you get like Sasa Stasic, they're not going to cost you a little bit of money. They're not doing it for free. They're going to charge you significant amounts of money per day, as well as travel and per diem and expenses. So the investment is can be significant. And so, there's now it's not to say that it's not fair. The competition itself is fair. You just have to learn how to exploit the rules and the score sheets in order to be successful.
I mean, that's why a lot of competitors are usually like owners of the cafe
Mhm.
or management or sponsored by big, big coffee roasters.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I mean, like if
But
you're,
you don't have to. That's the thing, and that's the thing that I try to. That's really the intent of my message last year was that yes, this is the reality. This is the reality that you face as a competitor. But in order to win, you don't have to have all of that. You just have to understand how to. you have to understand the rules and how to exploit them and how to exploit the score sheet to your favor. Because even though they spent all this money, and there's a lot of people that spend a lot of money every
Yep.
year that lose, right? There's only one winner. So everybody else has lost and they've
Yeah.
expended thousands and thousands of dollars. Just because you don't have a war chest doesn't mean that you are completely barred from potentially winning.
But it makes it a little difficult.
It does. It absolutely does.
You
It
know.
it it is a much more difficult battle. These guys are going to bring teams with them to whatever location they're flying to, whether in the United States or outside the United States. They're going to bring their own grinders. They're bringing their own equipment. They're bringing their
Yep.
own coffee. They're bringing everything they need, which all of that costs money.
Oh man, it's not cheap. Okay, it's not cheap at all. Going to Expo, airfare, housing is very pricey.
Hmm. Hmm.
Transportation is not cheap either.
Oh yeah, Uber's terrible now.
Oh, let's not forget the eating out.
Hmm.
We are
Hmm.
talking thousands of dollars. I mean, we are
It costs
talking
a
thousands.
bit. It
Yeah,
costs a bit.
it's cost bit. I mean, that's why you need to have the sponsors for sure. I mean, you need that. I mean, if you want to compete in that high level, but
Yeah, yeah.
but I mean, if you are young baristas out there, dream of winning a champion. But in reality, I don't know how many baristas out there their dream is become a barista champion either. I mean,
Well, there's quite a bit. I
is
think.
that
I mean, it's not everybody's out there
yeah?
thinking that, but I think there's quite a lot of people that would like to have that chance. But it is a long and difficult road to get there.
It is. It is. Man, we got a few people watching. By the way, if you're joining us, we are talking to Jay from Spro Coffee in Maryland. I'm done with it. I'm gonna put the link, Jay's link, on my description section as well. So make sure follow Jay's YouTube channel.
Well,
And are you selling your coffees right now on your through your website?
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's brocoffee.com. We sell our coffees
Brocoffee.com. Make
there.
sure go buy some Jay's coffee as well. Hey Jay, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much, Hoon. I
We
appreciate
appreciate
it.
it. We've been talking for goodness over an
Oh.
almost yeah almost 80 minutes. That's
Ah,
fantastic.
nice, nice.
That's fantastic. Okay, Jay. Thank you. I'm
All
gonna
right,
see you next
Hoon.
time.
You too. Have a great one. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. So that's the Jay from Spro Coffee. I'm gonna see you guys next time, guys.